Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy. And so I'm getting to feel like everyone who is going through the dating process should have a tarot or oracle deck that they use to check in with themselves and the situation, and this is if you're going through the dating process, because that's a matter of meeting people, and often it's difficult. They don't always want to show you their true motives, and situations can change so rapidly that just a minute. Speaking of situations changing rapidly, my dog is being a jerk. It's kind of weird. I got a look. The cat that I have brought in recently, Stray, and my dog has been pestering it, which is appropriate because it pesters her. But one of my established cats has a very similar color pattern to her, and she's getting mistaken for the other cat. So my dog was just challenging my very peaceful, mature cat sitting here beside me. And it's like, no, you're not going to do that. Not with that cat. The other cat, I don't blame it, because it snaps at her too, but I don't blame her for getting after it. Okay, so yes, if you are dating, conversations, and I've had this experience over the past few days, where it's like everything that is said ends up being weighted, and as in W-E-I-G-H-T-E-D, weighted, and potentially altering the emotional landscape as you go forward. And it can be helpful for perspective. It can help, getting readings can be helpful. Pulling a few cards can give you some idea of the impact of the words that you have exchanged. It can give you perspective on the other person's feelings if you want to look at that. It can give you potential outcomes. And I just feel like it gives really valuable perspective on where you're at, where you're potentially going, you as a person, regardless even of the relationship. And I may do another spread, or just pull a few cards about what was this relationship that is now over. What was it for? What was it about? There was some lesson that I'm learning, is my feeling here. And this is a relationship that has been petering. It is petered and semi-revived, and then petered out again, and then slightly, and then it just keeps, the trend has just been down to nothing, and now we're pretty much at nothing, which is fine. It needed to go there. And so what's really interesting is you wouldn't think of this as a love deck, would you? And I don't think of it as a love deck. It's not. This is the Fairies Oracle. And but this is the deck I was relying on the most. And as we would go through an exchange and he was not replying, and I would even say to the cards, is he even listening? And they're like, yes, he's listening. But he's not necessarily liking what he hears, and he keeps, and I was seeing kind of his devolving decline in attitude as I said more. But I felt I needed to say what I had to say. And it was kind of a look at the breadth of our knowing each other. And So, and then that helped me in terms of, well, do I want to go further? And the cards kept saying, you need to go further. You need to do this. And I think, the cards have objective moments and they have subjective moments. And I feel like this deck was saying, you need to move forward. And I needed that encouragement, because if I'm not getting feedback, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to cut it. What's the point? And the deck was pretty much helping me see that the point is for me to express myself and for him to react, and that creates closure. That would create closure for me. So I've been using the Fairies Oracle a lot, and over the past few days, as this mostly one-sided conversation has gone on, and I used the Psychic Tarot for the Heart primarily because it gives such direct messages. This gives more nuanced messages that you have to interpret. This kind of gives you very direct messages. But it's not inclined to be negative. It did start to show me some negative cards again as the thing was sort of devolving a little bit. But actually, if it hadn't been for these cards cueing me, I wouldn't have known that it was devolving. And I have to, but I was still encouraged to continue. I would ask, should I say more, or should I just clam up? Should I say, no, you need to say more. You need to get it out there. And so I got it out there. And I also used, oddly enough, this deck. And so this is the Illuminati, Tarot Illuminati. And I don't know why I chose this deck, I just chose it. So, and you don't need to get any one of these decks. I mean, I've got the Vintage Wisdom cards that people love when I do readings with the Vintage Wisdom ladies. Enchanted Map. There's all kinds of decks that could be used. But it's like having a friend. In this case, this friend was encouraging me to kind of step in a foolish sort of fashion, to step off the cliff. Not because great things were going to happen on the other side of the cliff, but because I personally needed to step off the cliff and let things, and confront and let things get real, you might say, and to the point that I can see that the relationship is truly, utterly over, and it probably was before, and so that I can let it go. So that was very helpful. So again, everyone should have, at least don't be afraid of getting your own tarot or oracle deck to help give you perspective. It doesn't always work, like I just said. Sometimes it tells you to get out early. And frankly, I think, again, I feel like there was a lesson in this relationship for me. I can't say that I regret the relationship. I can't say it. So there we go. And I was thinking I could pull some of these cards. What was I going to ask? Oh, I was going to ask, why should everyone who is dating have a tarot or oracle deck? So we're going to pull a card around that from each of these decks and just see what the decks have to say. Let's see. Arval Parrot. Communication. In the best of all possible worlds, you would be doing these draws with your significant other. But to me, communication is not only with communicating with your significant other, it is communicating with your intuitive sides, communicating with spirit or whatever it is that you believe spiritually, to allow that to guide you and to help you speak, help you decide how you should speak, how you should proceed, or how you should communicate. Alright, I've lost track here, so I'm going to start all over with this deck. Yep, believe and succeed. It helps you to believe in yourself and succeed, even if what you need to do is move on. So it helps you, I would say, not only believe and succeed, it helps you to steer your craft. To know when you're really headed in a good and bright direction. Instead of wasting your time with relationships that are maybe not useful, maybe not, because we all get stuck in that sort of thing. There's relationships that are just lack potential or going nowhere. Perhaps have just gotten comfortable. Okay, alright, let me get on track here. Oops. Nine of Wands. Funny. To be on your guard. To be on your guard. To some extent, they can, the cards can sort of warn you, or if you have suspicions, you can look into them. Suspicions, you see there's a moon in the background. So yes, if you have suspicions, it can tell you whether they're on spot or whether they're figments of your imagination. So, and I could continue to draw cards. They can probably tell me more. There's just a multitude of ways that having your own deck, because you're not going to want to get a free reading every time you have a conversation, a sensitive conversation with someone, and you'll find that there are free reading sites, and they limit the amount of free readings you can have, because they get people sometimes asking the same thing even though nothing has changed. And so they put limits on stuff. So, you're the only one who can know whether you're at a point where you're needing guidance. You're needing very regular, frequent guidance. There are people who say, oh, you should never do that. Oh, that's ridiculous. Most tarot card readers these days would say that, events are in constant flux. If events are in constant flux, then that's precisely the reason to have a deck. And when you're going through something that's happening very rapidly, you can consult it multiple times if necessary, whether throughout a day or a few days a week, a few times a week, whenever something has occurred to potentially shift a situation. So that you need to check in and get clear. Because of course, and I say the dating process, once you're in a more established relationship, one would hope that you don't need cards quite as much, because one would hope that you have a decent channel of a communication with your spouse or significant other. And, cards are generally necessary when you're trying to, or necessary on a frequent basis, when you're trying to understand a situation that is not fully accessible to you. So a person, you haven't reached a level of trust yet with somebody, that they're telling you the complete truth, which is, I don't blame people for that. We don't tell people the complete truth the first time we meet them. We might be honest in any statements or conversations that we have, excuse me, but we haven't had the deeper conversations yet. So anyway, I would encourage everyone who is who watches my videos, who watches my my love readings, be sure that you also have your own tarot or oracle deck to get specific information on your situation. In particular, when you're in a touchy situation where kind of every word counts, where you need to be aware of the other person's excuse me, I'm getting a tickle in my throat as I talk to Arvel Parrot here with his little finger on his throat. You're choking me, Arvel, you're choking me. So yes, so that you can continue the conversation, be as clear as possible in your conversation. Know how it's affecting the other person, so that you can continue throughout that communication to be true to yourself in your own direction, and to get, this happens every now and then with my throat. I didn't bring any water with me to my desk here. And to, kind of have fair warning with this sentinel here, this guard. So you have fair warning about what's coming, because that's what happened with me when he took it badly. It was like, okay, well, now I know among the cards I was looking at which faction won. There was some hope there. There was negative cards. There were negative cards. And it's like, okay, the negative cards tipped with the last thing I said. They tipped, which is okay. It was a situation that I was wanting. Either it needed to be, everything needed to be erased and we needed to start again, or I needed to let it go. And I think that this was a good process for me to have some closure with that relationship, to let it go. And hopefully him too, because I think he was hanging on, even if he was denying it. It was pretty clear that he was. Alrighty. So there you go. My advice. Get tarot and oracle cards if you are in the dating process. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.